Hey folks, have you ever wondered why we don't just pull out the sunken Titanic? Well, good question, and now we'll get to the bottom of it. Let's go. Number 5, the Titanic. The RMS Titanic was a passenger ship of the British shipping company White Star Line. At the time, it was the largest passenger ship in the world. It was 260 meters long and 28 meters wide. Almost 4 years passed from the order of the ship to its very first trip. The special feature of this ship were its 4 distinctive chimneys. Number 4, the tragedy. On its maiden voyage, the Titanic collided with an iceberg in the North Atlantic on April 14, 1912 at 23:40. And although that was actually more than enough time to evacuate all 2,200 passengers, 1,514 people died in the end. The reason for this was the low number of available lifeboats and the inexperienced staff who did everything wrong during the evacuation. Had the staff been better trained, then at least 1,178 lifeboats would have been filled. Number 3, location. For a very long time, the wreck of the Titanic was considered lost. It was not until 1985 when the oceanographer Robert Ballard discovered the shipwreck at a depth of 3,800 meters. While the stern is almost completely destroyed, the front part of the ship is still relatively well preserved. This also applies to chandeliers, wood paneling, and crockery. To date, companies, governments, and individuals are arguing over property rights. Number 2, the question. The real question is, why don't we just pick up the wreck? Now, the first problem is that the entire wreck is actually unstable except for the bow, and even if we had the chance, the bow of the ship would probably break during transport. Unfortunately, the wreck is also far too deep in the water for the possibility of resalvaging based on today's methods. And yes, of course, there's also the legal question. Who has the right to recover the ship? Who owns what from the ship? And for whom the whole thing would actually make any economic sense? Last but not least, number 1, UNESCO Heritage. On April 15, 2012, a salvage was actually made impossible by UNESCO because the wreck is submerged on a seabed under the protection of the UNESCO Convention for the Protection of Cultural Heritage. The Titanic will therefore remain where it is and thus represent a kind of monument to the serious mistakes and to the many who died in the terrible disaster. Okay folks, well I hope you found this very interesting. If you like this video, why not check out another one here. Until next time, bye!